Welcome to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Zeal, and if you're looking for the high-level strategies and stories behind building a seven-figure product brand, then you're in the right place. On this show, we'll uncover the advanced strategies, stories, and secrets that you need to know in order to take your e-commerce brand to the next level. Are you ready to uncover your roadmap to 1 million? Let's dive in. Okay, hello. Welcome to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. My name is Stacey Zeal and I am your host, and I am super excited for you to be here. Today we are talking about AI in marketing, and oh my goodness, everybody and their mother is talking about AI and using it or dabbling with it. So maybe you've tried it, maybe you haven't tried it yet, maybe you're thinking about it and curious about how you can really integrate it into your marketing. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we jump in, I want to make sure that if you are new here, welcome to the show. We have new episodes released every Tuesday, so make sure that you are following the show on your podcast app of choice, on Apple, Spotify, all the places. You can also go to staceyzeal.co/podcast to get all of the podcast episodes to be able to listen to it on your desktop. And if you are seasoned here, if you've been here before, if you've been rocking with me since we've been starting this podcast, you are 31 episodes in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything that y'all, when y'all reach out. I appreciate that y'all download and listen every week. So welcome to everybody who is here. I am just railing and coming off of an amazing solo vacation adventure to Jamaica. And so I am rested and revitalized and ready to really kind of just hit the ground running, with the podcast and with all the things that we're doing over here at Stacey Zeal & Co. So again, welcome. Let's dive in. Let's talk about what we're going to talk. Let's go through and figure out what we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to talk about what AI is and why it's useful in marketing. I'm going to talk about some AI tools for marketing that you can use, that I've used. I'm going to talk about 3 tips to how to just use it in your marketing. So we're giving you a foundation of where you can actually start to get it into your marketing. And I encourage you to listen to the very end, because at the very end, I'm going to tell you how to use it with your Facebook and Instagram ads. So speaking of Facebook and Instagram ads, I want to make sure that you know about my course called Maximize with Ads. Content just takes so much time to create, y'all. And I feel that because, here I am creating content, and I create tons and tons of content. And, as CEOs, that's a part of the game right now. That's a part of marketing right now, right? It's just content marketing. But it feels like, sometimes we just put all this effort into creating these pieces of content, but they start to die in the feed, or they don't get them as much life as we want them to. Or our audience size expands and we're like, oh my goodness, I have so many great podcast episodes. I have so many blog posts that these people just did not see because they were not in my world at the time when they were published, right? So if you took your best podcast, your best podcast episode, your best lead magnets, and drove traffic to it, quality traffic, I'll say, to it 24/7, what would that do for your business? I need you to really think about that. Instead of, feeling like you're just hustling to create more content, hustling to get more leads in your business, what happens if you start to just drive quality eyeballs to that automatically 24/7? And so if you've really been putting off leveraging Facebook ads because you don't know where to start, you don't know how to get there, you need the roadmap, I got you, okay? Because my course, Maximize with Ads, gives you the exact roadmap to success with Facebook ads. So go over to staceyzeal.co/ads. And if you use promo code ROADMAP, then you save 25%. That's one word. Roadmap is one word. Save 25% on the course. So head over to staceyzeal.co/ads, and then we'll give you the exact roadmap that you need to really take your best pieces of content, your best lead magnets, and really drive quality leads, quality traffic, quality sales to it 24/7 without you having to create tons and tons more content, right? So that's what it's about. It's about taking what we're doing and maximizing what we're doing. So that's why the course is there for you. Head over to staceyzeal.co/ads. And again, you can use that promo code ROADMAP to save 25%. Make sure you check the show notes, because all that information will be in the show notes as well as the links and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's start with what the hell is AI? Like, I know that, we've been hearing it and everybody's like, well, what the, some people, you may be out there sitting like, well, what is it exactly? So AI stands for artificial intelligence. And the best example that I've heard about how to explain, because I was trying to think about, like, how do I explain AI? Because I'm like, I know what it is, but I'm a marketer. I'm pretty tech savvy. I'm one of those people that's like kind of like an early adopter a little bit. So like, I can pick up on what it means. So what does it really mean? So I was listening to a podcast. I was in the Amy Porterfield's podcast for her online marketing made easy podcast, which is a really great podcast. And they just talked about, she just had a guest, Stu McLaren, on it. He described AI as a brainstorming buddy. And I loved that example because it was just such a great way to think about AI. Such a great way to think about these marketing tools, or these AI tools that we have out there. And so essentially with AI, with the artificial intelligence, you really have a brainstorming session with a robot, kind of. And it'll give you just what you ask for. So for example, if you say like, hey, can you give me some email subject lines ideas? Or can you give me some social media captions? You can get really specific and get very personalized with it and say like, give me email subject lines about Facebook ads and write it in first person, or write it in a tone that sounds funny. Right. So it really is, if you think about it as a brainstorming buddy, an addition to your market, or someone to help you to really kind of give you a starting point for some of your content that you're creating, for the marketing that you're doing. That is how the best way to look at AI, and the best way to kind of like think about it when you're thinking about how to integrate it into your marketing. And really the main benefit of AI in marketing is speed. And I would say like it helps you to speed up your workflow for sure, and by giving you a starting point. That's one of the things I love about it. And I'm going to tell you how I've used it in a second, but it gives you a starting point. Like if you're thinking about social media captions, for example, that's one thing I use it for all the time. Social media captions, right? Like you could come up with a caption from scratch, right? Like we've done historically, right? We've been there, done that. But then, or I can go into, the one of the AI tools and just say like, hey, I need some social media caption ideas. This is the topic that I'm talking about. You can even get to the point where like, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but you can even get to the point where you're like, hey, this is the what this video is about, or this is what this post is about. This is what this blog post is about. You can take your blog post copy and say like, hey, give me, social media captions from this blog post. And you just copy that and paste that text in there, and it'll read the text and it'll give you some social media captions. Same thing you can do with a lot of different areas of marketing, for example. So how I've used AI. So how I've used it, honestly, I've started using it a lot, to be honest. So I use it, again, as I mentioned, for social media captions. I use it for email subject lines. This podcast outline came from AI, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more when I get down to some of the podcasting AI tools that I talk about. But I was like, you know what? I'm running a little behind. Let me tell you, this is the exact scenario. I'm running a little behind on this podcast. I need to get it done. I already knew I wanted to talk about AI and marketing. So I pulled my audience on Instagram. So make sure y'all follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And so I've been talking to my audience and saying like, hey, do y'all want to learn more about AI? And everybody's like, yes, we definitely want to learn more about AI. I'm like, cool. I was running a little behind with this podcast outline because I was, busy with all these other things, catching up from being off of vacation. And so I was like, you know what, let me try to use Chat GPT, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm like, let me try to use Chat GPT to give me a starting point for this outline. And it was great. Like I just put in, give me a podcast outline for AI with marketing. And it gave me literally a shell of an outline, right? Like, so it gave me like, first section, talk about what AI is. Second section, talk about tools that you can use for marketing, for AI. Third section, talk about some tips and ways to incorporate it into your marketing. And then it gave me, a couple other things like, oh, you could talk about the future of AI. You could talk about this, you could talk about that. And then it says, here's the conclusion. Make sure you wrap it up. And so that's what it gave me, right? It didn't give me specifically the content, I will say. And I want to make that distinction. It didn't give me this outline that I have in front of me. It started as a shell of just like, talk about what AI is. And then I went in and put in my, my response. Oh, this is what AI is. Or, oh, I heard it on this podcast. Let me use that as an example, right? So that's the thing when you're thinking about AI with your marketing, is that it gives you a great starting point. And so don't think about it as a replacement for your content creation. Don't think about it as a replacement for what you're doing in marketing. Think about it as more of a starting point. Think about it as giving you as a brainstorming buddy. Think about it as giving you some place to really, concrete say, okay, this is the shell of what I'm trying to do. Now let me add my flavor to it. Let me add my sauce. Let me add my color. Let me add my examples and really build it out. But I love that it gave me, and I was a little skeptical at first because I was like, okay, I've used it for social captions. I've used it for emails. Subject lines and stuff like that. But I'm like, I've never actually used it for an outline before, and so, but it gave me a great shell of an outline. Hey there, CEO. Are you tired of creating content after content after content only to have it die in the feed after a few days? Do you wish there was a way to make more money without needing to create even more content? Well, there is. Facebook ads. When you invest in Facebook ads, you, one, get off that organic hamster wheel of creating endless amounts of content to hit your sales goals. Two, you generate quality leads that are dying for your offers 24/7. And three, you put your sales on autopilot without all the time and effort of hustling organically. After generating over $150 million with Facebook ads for some of your favorite brands like Zappos, Crocs, Adidas, and hundreds more, I have distilled all of that knowledge into my signature framework called the Zeal Method. If you are ready to stop posting 17 reels a day and learn how to create long-term sustainable success by investing in Facebook ads, I invite you to watch my free workshop, Maximize Your Money, How to Exponentially Increase Your Sales with Facebook Ads. In this workshop, you'll learn the 3 things you must have in place before investing in Facebook ads for maximum success. You'll learn what it takes to create ads that attract your ideal clients 24/7, and you'll learn my signature Zeal method that my clients use to run ads that generate quality leads on autopilot. Head over to stacyzeal.co/maximize to watch the workshop and learn the exact steps to exponentially increase your sales with less effort by investing in Facebook ads. All right, let's jump back into the episode. Last place I've used AI marketing, and I've used it, just like I've been dabbling in and out, but these are the main places I use it, is for ad copy, for Facebook ad copy. Facebook ad copy is the of all the elements that go into Facebook ads, copy is the one part where I'm just like, okay, I really, really need someone to help me, or something, I guess AI, to help me with the starting point for copy. And so I've been able to put in like, oh, hey, here is my top performing headline. Can you give me some variations of this? And we're going to talk about more in-depth Facebook ads and Instagram ads, specifically with using it for AI. But that's that's really kind of the foundation there. There's some ways that you can use it, and you can really use it as a starting point and a place to give you just a shell of where to start, and then you add your own flavor, you add your own sauce. All right, let's talk about some tools also, because there's a lot of tools out there. Let me tell you. There's a lot of marketing, a lot of AI tools that just keep popping up. Maybe you've even seen, like, I'm starting to see ads for people that are like, oh, here's 1,000 prompts to put into Chat GPT. So there's so many people are like really, really jumping on this AI train. And so I want to give you some tools that I have personally used that I think are beneficial. So the first tool is Chat GPT. And so this is the most popular one, or this is the one that actually like it just kind of went viral, really, and it just exploded, because AI's been around for a while, right? But, we in marketing and in social media and in this world that we're in of virality, things can exist for a while before they take off and go viral. So this one, Chat GPT, went very viral. It's one that everybody's talking about, everybody's using. This is the one that I primarily use. So this is a tool I primarily use for content creation. And if you want to know more about my content creation process and the tools that I use for content creation, go back and listen to episode 27. Because in that episode, I give you all of the tools that I use to create content, to help me improve my workflow, to help me to, get through all this content that I create without losing my mind. So definitely make sure you go and check that out. But really what ChatGPT is, it's an open AI tool that you can use for captions, copy, content ideas, all that kind of stuff. You can put, say like, hey, can you give me some content ideas about Facebook ads? Give me some content ideas about financial planning. Give me some content ideas. I'm a sales coach. Give me some content ideas, right? So you can really, really kind of, get into Chat GPT. And that's the main tool that I use to just give me the shell of everything. That's what I used for this outline. I went into the Chat GPT's website and I said, give me an outline, a podcast outline about AI for marketing. And it started to give me a shell, right? So ChatGPT is the main tool that I use, and it's one of the most popular tools. They also, like Jasper is out there. I think Jasper is a competitor to ChatGPT. It essentially does the same thing, but I have not used that one. I've personally used ChatGPT, and I really, really like this tool. Okay, next tool, and this tool literally has been blowing my mind, is PodSqueeze. So, fun fact, cold emails do work, okay? Cold emails work. So I had, I've had, y'all know, as you know, I have a podcast because you're listening to it. But I had someone, the CEO of PodSqueeze, actually send me a cold email. It might have even honestly ended up in my spam, but I, kind of go through my spam sometime to see if anything important gets stuck in there. But I happened to open this email, and he was saying like, hey, I see that you have a podcast. I have this tool. It's an AI tool for podcasters, and it really, really helps you with, writing your show notes. It helps you with, improving your workflow and all that kind of podcast. And I was like, ooh, this is awesome. That sounds cool. And so I sent it to my assistant. I was like, hey, can you check out PodSqueeze? This is something that it looks pretty cool. It has a free trial on there, so you can try it for free. I'm like, let's try it out and see if it's something that helps us to improve our workflow with the podcast. And so let me tell you, this is a great tool. I highly recommend PodSqueeze. I'm going to make sure that there's a link also in the show notes. There's going to be a link to all the tools that I mentioned in the show notes. But this tool literally, you can take the audio from your podcast. So you take your RSS feed link, or you take, whatever you're using to upload your podcast, right? You just take the link, or you take the audio file, because you can also, I believe, upload audio files, and it'll write the show notes for you. It'll give you timestamps. It gives you social media posts. It gives you newsletters and more. It gives you tweets, all kinds of things. Y'all, let me tell you, I literally created a ton of content for last week's podcast episode, which was about 3 mindset shifts that you need to make in order to be successful with Facebook ads. That episode, I literally dug into Chat GPT, but I mainly used PodSqueeze for this, because when I was able, our show notes are written through PodSqueeze, but then I go in and I add my sauce, right? My assistant, she goes in, she adds her sauce. I go in and I, kind of rework it a little bit, make it sound like us. And then I approve them, right? But it gives us a starting point. Okay. It gives us a starting point. So we're not starting from scratch every podcast. And so that's the thing that I want to just keep emphasizing, is that these tools are for starting points for you. This is not a replacement for your content, because again, people want to hear from you, right? People want to hear you, and your consumers are smart. Consumers know, they can tell when something is AI or they, for the most part, right? They can tell when something is a little, is not you, for example. But so we use this PodSqueeze. We create our show notes. I go in, we work the show notes to make it sound like us, put it in our tone of voice. You can do this within the tool, right? Like, so you can train the tool, at least with Chat GPT, I know you can train the tool to start to sound like you. And that's something that gets a little bit into the weeds, and I have not done that yet. So I'm not going to speak on that. But I know that with PodSqueeze, you can say like, oh, you change this to first person. You can make it a little more a funnier tone. So you have the ability to do that within the tools. But then I like to just kind of go in, I look at a Google Doc, or I look at the document. I'm just like, okay, let me just, change a couple words. I say y'all a lot. Like, these Chat GPT tools aren't going to say, the AI tools aren't going to say y'all for the most part, right? So I go in and I make it my own. But PodSqueeze is if you're a podcaster, and you come up with your show notes, or you write blog posts, or you send newsletters for your podcast, this is definitely a great tool to use. And again, a link will be in the show. A link will be in the show notes, so you can check it out. And it has a free version, as I mentioned, so you can try it, see if you like it. See what happens. But again, this has been a great starting point. I created a ton of content from this, and I was even honestly considering posting some, because Twitter is mostly my channel to talk shit, to be honest. It's not I don't do a whole lot of business on Twitter, but it's my kind of channel that I go to kind of, just talk shit. And I was even considering, I'm like, ooh, they gave me some tweets. These are some good tweets that I could even post on my Twitter page that drive to my podcast, right? And so it really is great to give you a starting point, so you're not feeling like you're starting from scratch every time. Because I know for me, with the content creation process, like staring at a blank Google Doc is just like, okay, where do I start? So I know that for me, it's definitely very helpful, and I think it'll be helpful for you too. All right, last tool I'm going to talk about is Canva. We love Canva over here at Stacey Zeal & Co. I know there are lots of people that out there love Canva, and Canva is it's woman of color owned, which is awesome. But it also is such a dynamic tool for design. Really, I've used Photoshop before. I've used Illustrator before. Canva is such a great tool for design. Like, you can create, it gives you templates for social media posts. And again, it feeds into the theme of being able to have a starting point. So Canva is a great place to go if you need a starting point for design and that kind of thing. But what they recently added was this is a tool called the Magic Edit tool. And so they added in an AI for copy and design. And so it helps you with writing copy, but it also helps you with editing images. And so that's the main place that Canva is really cool in this AI tool, is that like you can say, like, say you have a photo, right? And you have a photo that you have uploaded in Canva, and you're like, hey, I want to add some roses to this photo. You can tell Canva to add some roses, and it'll add roses to the photo. And I don't mean to laugh, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like, you could just be like, you know what, add a puppy to my photo. Like, you know, it's really, really cool. Like, you can use it to come up with content ideas. I know that I've done that as well with the copy, on the copy side of it, just being like, oh, give me some headlines, you know, give me some, you know, some ideas for outlines or ideas for social captions, that kind of thing. But the main thing I think that is really cool about Canva is that you can also use it incorporates AI with design, not just copy. And so all of these tools, as I mentioned, like I mentioned Chat GPT, I mentioned PodSqueeze and Canva. I use all of these tools in my content creation process. I mostly use Chat GPT for anything outside of the podcast. For the podcast, we mostly use PodSqueeze. And then Canva we use for like with design and that kind of stuff. I haven't actually used the design piece of it yet. But I plan to, because I'm like, it sounds kind of cool. I want to see how that goes. And then you have a lot of platforms that are integrating AI into their existing tools. So like HubSpot CRM, for example, I keep hearing podcast commercials about HubSpot CRM and how they have AI built in now. Google is building an AI to their tools, right? And so AI, artificial intelligence, is something that's definitely on the rise. And I think that as CEOs and as marketers, we definitely need to pay attention to how we can use them to help improve our workflow, because content marketing is not going anywhere, right? Like, you know, despite there being millions and millions of blogs and millions of podcasts out there, content marketing is still a big driver for revenue for businesses of all different industries, whether you're e-commerce, whether you're, you know, service provider, or somewhere in between, whether you're B2B, whatever it is, like content marketing is definitely something that's going to be around for a while. And these tools really just help us to be able to do what we're doing better. It's helped us create, content faster. It gives us starting points, and it helps us to come up with different kind of, words and that kind of thing. So 3 ways so I've given you some tools. I've given you what AI is. I've given you some tools that I use, but let me give you 3 specific ways that you can incorporate AI into your marketing and to really help you to, one, create more content, create your content faster, not feeling like you're really kind of glued to your laptop when you're creating content, but using these tools to help you as a starting point. So tip number 1, and the first way you can use it, and these are ways that I've personally used. The first one is to take the transcription of your videos and make social captions. So every Monday I go live around 6 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you're following me. Every Monday I go live. And so what I use a tool called Descript, which I mentioned again in episode 27 when I walk through my content creation process. This tool called Descript, it's a great, awesome tool for transcribing videos and being able to make small clips. So what I do is I'll take my live, I upload it into the tool Descript, I transcribe it, and then I cut those videos down into smaller clips. So I'll take 15-minute live video, cut that down into 5 or 6 small, 1 minute, a minute and 30-second videos to be able to post as reels and post as short form content on my pages. And so with that, right, I have the video because I now have the post, right? But I need a caption, right? So I take the live, I make that's the image, that's the video that I'm using. And then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do for the caption? So what I do is I go to Chat GPT, and I will take the transcription. I'll say video number 1, this is already clipped down and ready to go. Let me take the text from that 1-minute video. I put that in the Chat GPT and I say, give me some social captions from this text. And it'll spit out social captions, right? It'll give me 5 to 10 different options for social captions. And what do? I go in and I use them as a starting point. Again, I go and take them and I'm like, oh, this is a good line. This is a good opener. Let me add some color here. Let me add my sauce. Let me add some different kind of text and all that kind of good stuff. And so I use it as a starting point for creating social captions, but I make it very personalized and very specific because I then use the copy. So essentially the words that I'm saying, right, in the video, I take the words that I'm saying in the video and then I put it in the Chat GPT and say, hey, give me some social captions. So that's one way that you can incorporate AI into your marketing, is to really take any copy that you have. So if it's a blog post, if it's your show notes, whatever that is, taking that copy and pasting it into Chat GPT and saying, hey, give me some social media captions from this. You can do it for emails too. I've done it recently for emails. I'm like, hey, here's the email. Here's what I wrote for the email. Give me some email subject lines for the email. So you can use it for all different kinds of different copy options that you need. The second tip is to use it to come up with workshop titles or headlines, or, workshop titles, headlines, any kind of things that you need a headline for, or titles to your podcast episodes, titles for your content. That's what I mean in this specific instance. So my workshop is titled, my Facebook ads workshop is titled Maximize Your Money, How to Exponentially Increase Your Sales with Facebook Ads. And so when I was coming up with that title, I had already had how to exponentially increase your sales with Facebook ads, because I've run this workshop a bunch of times in 2022. And that is the name that really kind of sticks out and that captures people's attention. But I'm like, okay, I want to add a little bit of color on there. I want to add a little extra something on there to take it to the next level. And so I put in my workshop title and said, oh, can you give me some variations of how to exponentially increase your sales with Facebook ads? And it gave me a bunch of different variations, like a bunch of different headlines, but there was a word that stuck out. The word maximize stuck out. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's the word, because I was trying to figure out what is it, right? How to exponentially increase your sales with Facebook ads. Yes. But really who I'm trying to attract are people who are trying to maximize their money. I'm not necessarily teaching people who are just starting out in their business and want to start running ads right from the beginning. I'm talking to people who are like, hey, I've been doing this for a minute. I've been running, I'm making money in my business. I'm hitting, somewhere around that 6-figure mark, and I'm ready to take things to the next level. Right? They're not just starting out. So I was like, what is the word? So maximize. I was like, ooh, that's such a good word. And I hadn't thought about it, right? It's not that, maximize isn't a groundbreaking word, right? It's not that it's a word that I've never heard before, but it wasn't something that I was thinking about. And, but Chat GPT gave me a bunch of, lines. And so I took that word out and I'm like, ooh, let's put maximize and put maximize your money. And then how to exponentially increase your sales with Facebook ads. Boom, that's the workshop title. And so again, I like to use it as a brainstorming tool. I like to give it some direction and let it, it's a co-creation, right? It's a co-creative process. So I'm like giving it some information, giving it some prompts, telling it what I want, and it's giving me some ideas. And then I take those ideas and I put my own spin on it. I put my own secret sauce on it, and then it goes out to y'all. So that's the second way. So you can use it to help you to come up with titles, workshop headlines. I'm going to try it for podcast episode titles, all that kind of good stuff. So trying it for any kind of things that you need to stand out as a headline, great way to use it. And then the last way, I know I wasn't going to let y'all get out of here without telling you how to use use with Facebook ads. So the last place that I've been using, or last tip for ways to incorporate it into your marketing, is with Facebook ad copy. This, again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Facebook ad copy is the one place of all the things. Like, you want me to create a video? I will absolutely create a video ad. No problem. Boom. Here it goes. Right? You want me to, come out with still images, coming out with, technical targeting, all that kind of stuff. Boom. Very easy to me. But copy is the part where I'm just like, okay, the copy I need help with. And so what I did was I have a client where we were running ads, and we had, this is before really Chat GPT had exploded, or really before I started using it. Because as I mentioned, AI has been around for a long time, y'all. So I don't want people to think that this is something that's brand new and it's just, it's just coming out. AI has been around for a while, but we know in our society, some things go viral at certain times, and then now everybody can't stop talking about it. And so before we started using Chat GPT, really we had wrote our ad copy by hand, right? We just came up with the ad copy. We use our structure. We use my hot ads framework or whatever. So there's a framework, there's structure. But we came up with it from scratch. And so then we start running things, we start testing, and we see we have one headline that is just our top performer for it. Anything that we put this headline with, it really, really sticks out and gives us some really good ad performance. And so I took that headline and I'm like, okay, we want to test some different things, because with Facebook ads, you're always testing different things. You're always trying to, come up with different messages and really kind of find ways to maximize what you're doing. And we took the headline, I put the headline in Chat GPT and said, hey, give me some variations. Easy. Right? Easy. Okay. And so we did this, and then we started testing those headlines, right? So we didn't have to come up with it from scratch, right? Because I'm already like, okay, this works really good. How do we just do this better? How do we do this more? And that's really what I teach you how to do in my ads course. Is like, how do you take what you're already doing and take it to the next level, and really kind of infuse your what you're doing and take it to the next level, again, as I mentioned. And so if you are stuck on what to write for your copy, AI can give you a great starting point. So asking it like, give me some Facebook ad copy for this specific topic. And then go in there again, put your secret sauce on it. You got to use the hot ads framework. And if you don't know what my hot ads framework is, then you definitely want to check out my course, because my course walks you through how to use the hot ads framework. And that is how you structure your video ads, how you structure your copy. It really just talks about it's the framework for creating really, really good video ads and really, really good ad copy. So again, we take what we took what Chat GPT spit out to us. It gave us some ideas. We put a little spin on it, right? We did our, put our secret sauce on there, made it sound like the brand, make it, use different words, that kind of thing. And then we started testing them, and then we started running them, right? And they work, right? They work, okay? So that's how you can definitely use AI with your Facebook ads, is looking at the copy that you've taken and you've started to test, give you some variations of it, or giving you a starting point where you're like, hey, I know this is the video that I'm going to be running, or, this is what I want to be talking about. This is the magnetic message that I'm going to be highlighting in this particular ad. And this is the message I'm trying to convey. And you can ask Chat GPT to give you some options and some ideas. So AI is a great addition to your marketing workflow. But again, it does not replace your voice, and it does not replace the need to add your magnetic messaging into your marketing so that you attract your ideal customers. So I want you to keep that in mind. So keep in mind that as you're thinking about how to use these AI tools, you want to make sure that you're using it as an addition. You're using it as a starting point, but then you want to make sure that you're still infusing your magnetic messaging, because that can only come from you. That messaging, the way that you connect with people, that you connect with your clients, the language that they are using, right? The language that they're actually using, the way that the words that they use to describe your product or service, that all stuff needs to come from you. So again, this is a co-creative relationship between you and Chat GPT, right? Or you and these AI tools. Very co-creative. So you put something in and they give you something out. And so if you're ready to start leveraging Facebook ads to take your business to the next level, I highly encourage you. I invite you to grab my course, Maximize with Ads. Go to stacyzeal.co/ads, and you can use the code ROADMAP, again, one word. Use the word ROADMAP to save 25%. So that's what I got for y'all today, y'all. I hope that this was helpful. Send me a DM on Instagram if you were like, yes, this was super helpful. You want me to continue to explore AI and keep y'all updated on how I'm using it. Check out the show notes for all of the links of all the tools that we talked about and everything that we've discussed from today's episode. But make sure that you're following the show. We have another episode coming out next Tuesday. I will see you then. OMG, that episode was packed with gems. Are you ready for more? Head over to stacyzeal.co/podcast to get the show notes and to sign up to get our top 5 podcast episodes to help you streamline your marketing so you can make this your $1 million year. Head over to stacyzeal.co/podcast.